Hi, everyone. My name is Eric McBay. I farm just east of Houston on Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee territory, and I also manage special projects and membership development for the NFU Ontario. Welcome to everyone who is just joining us for this panel. It's exciting to see some familiar names from our previous workshop.
Join the meeting.
I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. I have a few slides to show with you. We'll have a bunch of different people speaking as part of this panel at various points. So I'm going to be talking along with our other panelists as part of a farmland access and conservation project that we've been working on in the NFU Ontario since 2020. This is our land linking workshops. So this has been a joint project between the Ontario Farmland Trust and the NFU Ontario. And I'm going to give you a little mini agenda for our tightly packed 60-minute ahead. I'm going to talk a little bit along with Catherine Enders from the Ontario Farmland Trust about this project and the context and our organizations. We're going to have some quick updates from a couple of people on our workshops to date. And then we're going to have 5 different speakers who have land opportunities. So up to this point, we've had some student workshops. There are a bunch of students and younger people who are here joining us at convention to find out about some of these opportunities. And then we're going to have questions and answers right at the end. So if you do have questions, I'm going to ask you to try to save them for till the end. We won't have time to pause after every speaker, but we do have time allocated for questions and discussions. Catherine Enders, are you there and ready to get started as well?
Hi, Eric. How are you?
Hi there. Welcome. So I do have a standard about the NFU slide, but I think everyone here is familiar or has been to one of the previous workshops. I'm going to invite Catherine Enders, Executive Director of the Ontario Farmland Trust, to speak about that organization.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me here. The Ontario Farmland Trust has been around since 2004, and we are the only registered charity in Ontario with a province-wide mission to protect farmland. We do that through legal agreements called farmland easement agreements, and that is essentially a legal agreement that's registered on title that permanently protects your land, and it can never be undone by future landowners. So if that's something that you're interested in talking about, you can send me an email or send me a note in the chat, and we can follow up at a later time. We also do policy development and outreach and education, and our annual Farmland Forum is coming up at the end of March, so check that out if you're interested.
Wonderful. Thank you. And I do want to note in this project, we're grateful to the Gosling Foundation and the McLean Foundation for their support. So we decided to do this project together for a bunch of different reasons. One, of course, is the farm income crisis that's been going on for many decades now, which means that it's very difficult to make a living at farming. And so many young people have decided not to take that up, there have been too many barriers to them. And so now we're in a situation where most farmers are approaching retirement without successors. Only 8% of farmers have any kind of written succession plan. There are more farmers over 70 than under 35. So that's a huge problem. We're also facing farmland loss in Ontario. We lose about 175 acres of farmland to development every day. At the same time as farmland is becoming more expensive and more inaccessible. I know that especially in the Southwest, our members there, you've seen the price go up dramatically 2- or 3-fold in the last decade. And the pandemic, which has meant more professional people working remotely, more people moving out of Toronto and the GTA looking for rural estates, that's worsened the problem from what people have told us. The result has been that young and new farmers can't access land. So we decided to try to bring together older farmers or established farmers who don't have successors, along with younger farmers who are having trouble accessing land, and maybe our new farmers don't have farmland to inherit. So we started with a series of 5 in-person land linking workshops in the beginning of 2020. So before the pandemic took hold, we were able to have these in-person events in a kind of a string between Guelph and Ottawa. And those were popular and well attended, and we decided we wanted to do more into this year, into 2021. Of course, the pandemic has posed many challenges, but I think we've been able to adapt and respond to the needs of our participants. I'm going to ask Catherine to talk a little bit about what we learned at the 3 student-oriented workshops we held this year online.
Thanks, Eric. So we heard a lot of common themes from our students that we met with this year. So we met students from 3 different college programs and university programs. And basically the themes that we heard were around land access, mentorship, business advice, and sustainability. So we heard time and time again that young farmers are having difficulty accessing land. It's just too expensive. Some youth were considering moving up north, some talked about moving out of province, and there were a few that even talked about moving out of country. On that note, there was a curiosity around which countries have more supportive cultures politically for farming. In terms of mentorship, young farmers made it clear that they're eager to connect with mentors. They talked about connections being difficult to make in rural areas, particularly for those that don't have a farming background or didn't grow up in the area that they would like to farm. We heard questions about learning to farm in a way that's different from the status quo, as much of the information available online is based on conventional agriculture. And they wanted to learn how to identify whether land was suitable for certain crops. And they also asked for help in terms of accessing infrastructure like tractors and barns. In terms of business advice, we heard a number of times that young farmers were looking for some financial advice. For example, how can they finance the early stages of their farm? How much debt should they take on? How can they make it through the winter without an income? And they were also looking for advice on creating a business plan that could compete with some of the larger producers. We also heard a lot around sustainability. There was an overwhelming appreciation for how important farming is to our communities and our economies, particularly during a pandemic and also with considerations for climate change. It's local farmers that will ensure we have food security as we move into the future, and it's local farmers that are going to help us combat climate change. Thanks, Eric.
Thanks so much, Catherine. One of the other workshops that we held this year was the BIPOC and access workshop facilitated by Cheyenne Sundance. That was a very popular workshop, and I'm excited to welcome Cheyenne here to give us a report on some of the things that we learned. And I am going to stop my screen share so that you can see Cheyenne at this moment. Cheyenne, are you ready to jump in?
Yeah, I am.
Thank you.
Yeah, hi everyone. I was the moderator for the BIPOC Land Access Workshop that was not too long ago. That workshop was really well, it went really well. There was a lot of interest and a lot of participants at the workshop. When I'm thinking about like a report or feedback, the biggest 2 things I can think about were that a lot of the participants said that they would like to start farms, or maybe they have farming experience, but they don't have access to land. So the idea of something like a land matching program, which is what Young Agrarians has in BC, was brought up. And personally, with my experience as a farmer, full-time farmer right now, and me training farmers on the regular, a land access program such as a land matching, I think is a really good idea, because it takes the onus off of new farmers to make those connections and figure out the legalities of leasing land. And if there can be a set person to do that matching, I think that will really allow a lot of new farmers to feel more confident within entering agriculture. The second thing that really came out of the BIPOC Land Access Workshop was also a lot of interest from folks of having a BIPOC caucus at the NFU. And that's something that's currently being worked on right now. And I'm very happy to support that. So that's what I really would have to say is I personally think a land matching program would be awesome if the NFU did that.
Thank you so much, Cheyenne. Yeah, it was an exciting workshop. I'm excited about everything that's happening on that front. And there is going to be a more detailed report that'll be available in the near future. So I'm going to share my screen again. After that workshop, we also had a workshop called Learning from Land Partnerships with 3 panelists who were in different kind of land partnership situations. So as part of the land linking project, we have been hoping to find matches between people who already have land and people who need land. But of course, that's really only the first step in the process. Actually working together, creating a formal partnership, legal succession, these are all things with a lot of potential pitfalls. And so we brought together 3 different panelists, Aaron Rashon and Mike DeGagne, to speak about their experience in different situations, co-ops, collectives, land rental, and also to give advice for farmers at any stage of the succession process who want to create these kinds of land partnerships. I think everything they shared, all of their experience was very valuable, and you can watch a recording of that on YouTube. I'm just pasting that into the chat. You can watch a recording of that, the panelists, and as well the discussion and the Q&A afterward. So today we're happy to welcome 5 different speakers who have land opportunities of various kinds, and this is the order that they'll be speaking in. I've also included their email addresses so that you can contact them later. You might want to take a screenshot of this. I will also show it again a little bit later in the discussion. One of the things that we heard, especially from our student and youth workshops, was that people weren't necessarily looking for an entire farm to buy all at once. Certainly there were people in that situation and are people in that situation, but there were also a lot of young farmers who told us what they need is to get more experience running a farm where they have more responsibility, or people who wanted to rent a small portion of an existing farm, or maybe to take over an existing business. So what we did for this workshop is to kind of handpick people who were in different situations who could offer different kinds of opportunities to land seekers and to new farmers that meet their needs. And we're going to give each person about 5 minutes to kind of talk about their farm, their situation, and the opportunity that they have available. So I'm going to ask Jeremy from Beetbox Farm to step up first. Jeremy, can you hear me right now?
Yeah, absolutely. How's it going?
Perfect.
Can you guys hear me?
Loud and clear. Did you have any slides that you wanted to share?
I do, but I haven't used PowerPoint and Zoom a lot, so I'm going to try it. I might not be able to see myself, but that's good. Let's see what happens here. 1 second. Let me go. How do I share my screen? First, share screen, and then grab this and share, and go like this. Nope, like this. How about that? Can you guys see a big map?
We can see a big map. Looks perfect. Yes.
Okay, super.
All right, over to you.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Eric. Thanks so much for inviting me. I'm really glad to see there's lots of folks here interested in farming. This is awesome. So this is a map of where our farm is located. We're called Beetbox Cooperative Farm. We currently have 4 members. So every member of the worker co-op is an owner of the farm. 2 of us work about full-time on the farm. Myself, Jeremy, my colleague Scott, and then two of the members are more part-time. So there's Angela and there's also Janice, and they help on the business management side of things and marketing and such. So I guess just a little bit of background about us quickly. I started farming in 2014 in Ottawa, and I worked on a bunch of organic vegetable farms, and that's what I wanted to do. And I found some other people who wanted to do that, and we started up this worker cooperative. The team's evolved a little bit since then. We founded it in 2017, and we started renting this farm, which is in the National Capital Commission's Green Belt in Ottawa. So we rent this. We have a long-term lease. And this is another photo. Yeah, that's an aerial photo. So we're really close to the Ottawa River, and we're close to folks, residential areas. We're basically in the suburbs. They're about 15, 20 minutes from downtown, depending on traffic. And we have, a really busy road. Carling Road is the road you see in that, which, has thousands and thousands of cars driving on it every day. So we're pretty new, and there's so much potential. We just need to get people to turn down that ultra long driveway and come to the farm store. We've successfully done that, but we want to keep growing, and there's a lot of room for that. As you can see, a lot of hay fields that we could turn into a giant veggie empire. So I said I was going to talk about the people a little bit. I do want to do that a bit more because that's really a core part of our business is the human element. And there's been lots of learning on that front. Like I said, the team's evolved, and we're really focused on making sure that the relationships we have in our business are quality relationships going forward. And so I'd be really happy to meet someone who's interested in this location. That's really the unique thing about our farm, is that we're right in the city. So there's some photos here. I'm just going to go through these as I talk a bit more about the people. That's me on one of our tractors. So Scott is a pretty new entrant into the farming world, but he's been basically self-sufficient in vegetables for many years. And he comes from a project management background and has some experience with soils and things like that as well. And he's really stepped up in the last while. So recently became a member, which we're really excited about. And Angela is actually my wife, and she works more in the sustainability field as a professional. And in her spare time, she's taken on the marketing strategy and implementation at the farm, and that's been amazing. She had some big shoes to fill as one of the team members left, and she's done a really good job. And we've made some great improvements to our marketing tool set this year. We have a clay soil, not the heaviest clay. It's about a bit of a silty clay. You can see in that photo on the left, it's kind of wet there. It's squishing a little bit. Not the best, probably shouldn't be working in those conditions. On the right, some of the soil work we did in our first year, and there's a seedling greenhouse in the background there. This is some photos of some of our friends and some of our members, I guess, as well, who helped, big garlic harvest one year. We got some CSA clients on the right there. We do host events with our CSA members. And some other photos from the farm. So scale-wise, we currently grow, we're selling about $100,000 of vegetables this year. And, in the past, we've done a little bit more, but we had some rejigging of things that we needed to do. And we're planning to grow quite a bit over the next few years. We want to do it in a manageable way, and it really depends on the people involved and the kind of initiative that people are willing to take in our business. I'm sure there's so much more I could say, but basically what we're looking for in the relatively near future, the specific opportunity is for folks who are interested in joining this team. There's other people there who aren't in the photo, but who are interested in joining this team as someone who wants to take on some risk and some responsibility, but not all of it. So we are a team, and we do share the risks and the responsibility when it comes to investment, as well as roles throughout the whole business. And in the mid to short term, we have some work available in the vegetable production enterprise, and we're going to have more next year as well. So a bit of maybe late summer this year, there might be an opportunity for someone to try it out. And then next year, we'll be looking for a full season part-time person, and it's just going to keep going from there. So get in touch with me, Jeremy at beetbox.ca, if you're interested, and I'd love to chat some more with you.
Great. Thank you so much, Jeremy. Yes, as soon as you're ready, you can stop sharing your screen. And then please, as I mentioned, everyone, if you can save your questions till the end. I'm going to ask Brenda from Whole Village to speak next. Brenda, are you ready?
Yep, go ahead. Hi. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Brenda.
Good to...
would you like me to share some of the photos that you sent me while you're speaking?
Sure. That'd be great. I've got them on the computer here too, but if you want to show them, I can just speak to them. Might be easier.
Perfect. All right. All right. So yours.
Okay. Interesting to hear about Jeremy and his co-op, because that's exactly what we've got, but it's slightly different. A group of 8, eventually 11 families came together over 20 years ago to create a cooperative, an intentional community actually, to buy a farm. This is what it looks like from the air. We've got quite a bit of diversity. We've got the upland maple forest and a beautiful wetland forest. And in between, we've got hills, flatland. So as you can see, we've got garden land, hayland, pasture. We've done a lot in the years that we've been there. But we started up in 2002 with buying the land and put a conservation easement on it, and also worked with the local conservation authority to put together a plan. As well, we created a permaculture plan, which we're following and amending as we observe more carefully what happens there. This is what the permaculture plan looks like, and what we had to do to house ourselves, because there was only one old farmhouse on the land. Luckily, there were 2 lots, 200-acre lots. The farm's about 191 acres all told. So that black and white picture in the middle, just slightly to the left, is the large 15,000 square foot ecological house that we built, so that we can actually live there, share space, share tools, share the land. That's our solar hot water system we put in after the fact. So there are 11 units in the house with a lot of communal space. And the farmhouse we've kind of designated for anyone who really wants to come in and join us in the farm area. We started off by thinking we would like to be the kind of community that would create an incubator project for young farmers. This is the old farmhouse. We're renovating it year by year until we get that much more sustainable than it was when we arrived. So we invite people to come and lease land and lease parts of the farmhouse, if not all of it. We've had, we're on our 11th farmer actually, but most of them lease just an acre or 3, while the rest of us try to use the rest of the land, sustain it, improve it. We're into regeneration now, big time. And in the years that we've been here, we've managed to plant almost 24,000 trees for a variety of, there's the CSA land there. Most of them are CSAs that come in and take on 3 acres and rotate the crops around. So we've tried to extend the forests and put in a lot of different windbreaks, shelter belts, hedgerows, put back what there used to be as much as we can and still create an area for production. This is quite a few years ago, but it just shows you the small trees. They're now quite tall. We've also, some of us have decided to experiment with various aspects of growing. So I've taken on the fruit, a lot of bush fruit, tree fruit, strawberries, as you saw in a former picture. And some of the money that we make from surplus, for example, of the strawberries, we turn back into the farm to buy more fruit trees and so on. There are a few people here who have taken on producing honey. They've got quite a few bees here. We've had some luck as well with tapping the maple trees in the back forest. So there's maple syrup cooperative. And then we've had a small cattle co-op that's still operating. And at one point we produced milk. This year we have beef, and mostly we brought them in to improve the land. So we're trying to regenerate the soil using these girls and boys as our helpers. Don't make a lot of money out of it at the moment, but somebody probably could in the future. So we've got a variety of things that we do and could do. So we welcome people to come in and talk to us, tour the land, talk to us about what could be done here. You can see that we raise chickens for our own eggs. But somebody in the past has come in and actually raised chickens for meat. So there's a lot of options and opportunities. So we've got a current CSA farmer, but he's only renting 1 acre. So there's lots more room. And a few of us who are doing some of the farming are getting to an age where we'd love to turn it over, let some other people take over the land and the animals and so on, and work out some sort of system where we can support each other. There's the current group that lives here. That was taken in the fall. And some of them are owners, some of them are renters, some of them are interns. And it's interesting how a few of our interns have turned into renters eventually, and decided to stay on the farm, become interested in some aspect of farming. I'm just trying to think what else you might need to know. Yeah, we've got a lot of equipment and infrastructure in place, 2 greenhouses, frost-free hydrants, a large, beautiful barn. We bring in hay for the cattle every year, and that brings out a lot of volunteers. We also have a volunteer and internship program. So people can come if they're just getting started and learn, but we also would love to talk to somebody who's got some skills and wants to perhaps try a farm business, maybe a small one to start with, and eventually pick up some of the co-ops that we're working on as we give them up, because there's so much that's possible here, from mushrooms to fruit to veggies, animals, you name it. So we usually interact by email first and then set up a tour, and we go from there. And we really welcome people who are interested in farming. We think that we have a responsibility to make sure that people have land and opportunities, and we're trying to be affordable as well and supportive. So hope we'll see some of you in the future. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Brenda. We have had a number of NFU Local 305 meetings at Whole Village over the years. They have a beautiful common space and an enormous commercial kitchen, which has been fantastic to see. All right, so next I'm going to ask John if you are ready to go.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to let you share your own screen there as soon as you're ready. John from Swallow Haven Farm on Pelee Island.
I tried and nothing happened. Oh, there we go. Okay, got it.
Perfect.
Okay, here goes. I only learned this recently. I knew Pelee Island's the southernmost populated place of Canada, but turns out I'm the southernmost small farm. So if that's of interest, good. Anyhow, here it is. This is a farmhouse, and I have 15 acres, including this big field back here that I rent out now, but it could be available in the future. And this is a retirement project for me. I was intrigued by the long growing season and the high heat units, highest in Canada. So figs like these basket here are very easy to grow. Okay, what do we do here? I grow seeds for Hawthorne Farm seeds, seed crops. So long season crops like eggplant, peppers, tomatoes, okra, that sort of thing. Also seed garlic. That's mainly what I do. And that, because there's been such a high demand for seeds this year, it's something that could be expanded considerably. The other is, I've just experimented a lot. One year I grew calendula for petals for a skincare company. Artichokes do well. And I've been trying to push the limits a lot. So these are, this is a pomegranate. And I've had fruit on 2 different occasions. I don't think anyone's going to make a living growing pomegranates, but it's possible. And then here's just a field with beans and sunflowers and other crops that were grown for seed. Now, that's one thing. If someone were to come, and I would really like to turn this seed business over to someone else, and maybe a year of mentoring, and then the second year, that person could do it on their own. And there are lots of opportunities for growing other things too. There's a farmer's market once a week. There are many people on the island who will buy, as well as the restaurants. So there's an opportunity with one's own initiative to grow additional crops as well. And one thing, you can look right here. This is my property line just beyond there. I have a hedgerow that's much bigger than that now. but there are 2 vacant lots. They're each about a little less than an acre, and they're for sale. And I have a friend who's buying one, and you know, if someone is looking for land immediately, and you know, an acre you could live on and then rent to buy in time, my part of my 15 acres, that is something I'd be very receptive to. Okay, let's just do a little more about what the island is. There's the southernmost school. There's the island itself. It's right in the middle of Lake Erie. Point Pelee is about there. And then Ohio's just a little to the south. There are 2 nature reserve, provincial nature reserve. This is Fish Point Nature Reserve, which is right there. And then Lighthouse Point is at the north end, and there's the old lighthouse. And then there are events like this that I'll show you more of, the July 1st parade and so on. The island, what really drew me to it, being a botanist myself professionally, was the high biodiversity on the island. So you have plants like the American lotus, prickly pear cactus, and then there are lots of interesting animals as well. This is a smallmouth salamander, and then the blue racer snake, juvenile of it. And the 2 animals are both only known on Pelee Island in Canada. It's the only distribution in Canada. There are plants as well that are only known on Pelee Island for Canada. This is one example. And redbud, the shrub, Cercis canadensis, the only place in Canada ever occurred was Pelee Island. And it was one tree that in 1892 was falling into the lake, and I grow a lot of them now from Michigan and plant them, and it's sort of become like the island tree. And I think, as I said, there are a lot of different activities that take place. It's an interesting community. There's the July 1st parade here. There's a music and drama series in the old quarry. There's a half marathon in the spring, and there's an annual music festival. That's Danny Michelle from Kitchener. And just basically, it's an interesting island. So contact me if you're interested, and there's my contact information again, and I'll be happy to talk with you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, John. You have a beautiful island and a beautiful opportunity there. Next, I'm going to ask Amber to step up. Amber, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. I think, Eric, you're going to share the screen, right?
That's right. I am going to share the presentation that you sent me. So take it away.
Okay, so we're going from one southern island to a slightly more northern island. So I live and farm up on Manitoulin Island, also known as Manitoulin. And I'm on the earlier stages of my farm experience. So I'm more at the stage of looking for long-term land tenure. And I'm open to different potentials, whether that's owning or long-term leasing or engaging in another kind of succession model. And in that process, I guess I'm also open to collaborative farming projects or a farming collective. So where I'm at right now is I work on 2 different farms, sort of a seasonal thing. So you can see 2 pictures from Three Forks Farm. They're an organic vegetable and pasture chicken and seed farm. And I have the great fortune of working there again this year. And they have an extra pasture that I have access to. So I'll be raising some sheep myself there. And so I have a long-term goal of starting a small-scale artisan dairy with sheep and goat milk. And this is, I guess, a place where I'm interested in partnerships. Or I'm interested in other people with similar interests. And I listed some of my other aspirations. It's neat that John mentioned the biodiversity of his island, because that is also a main pull for me to Manitoulin. I might go to maybe the next slide there, Eric.
Is that showing up for you?
Yeah, there we go. Okay, got it. So there's lots of reasons why Manitoulin Island. If anyone's not familiar, there's a map in the top right there. So it's a fairly large island in the middle of Lake Huron. It's classified as Northern Ontario, though it's still quite accessible to the south. There's a ferry that runs from Tobermory on the Bruce or the Saugeen Peninsula to the island, and then also land access from the Sudbury side. So some things I love about this island is that there's a very high quality of life. It's not that you're on holiday all the time, but there's an energy and a community feel of prioritizing quality of life. And I think that's a really neat thing to be surrounded by. The community is rural, but very connected. So you're not isolated, which is something that I have really appreciated as a farmer, as a young farmer. And decolonizing processes are widespread here. There's a large Indigenous population, and there's ongoing, really important relationships being built. And also, as being part of the North, there's a fair bit of Northern Ontario grants available. So that's helpful for startup, which is relevant for me. And it's a beautiful place to visit. So I guess my main offering is that I'm looking for long-term land tenure and also potential partnership or collaboration in a farm startup. And I think that's all for me. Thanks.
Great, thank you so much, Amber. I think this is an exciting opportunity too. A lot of young people are looking at joint ownership as a co-op or a collective or a partnership to try to overcome some of the land access issues. So this is an important way for us to move forward. Our fifth and final speaker is Matt Redsell. Matt, are you there? Perfect,
okay,
go for it.
Both Dorothy and I started our adult life with the university education. Dorothy went on to become a pharmacist, and I went into small business, making harpsichords, publishing a magazine, developing an online order system for books and CDs, then owning a small aircraft company, and finally moving back to Canada to do something about living a more sustainable lifestyle in farming. Both of us wanted a more sustainable lifestyle. Now, why doesn't this want to? Uh-oh. Okay, I'll just go to the next one.
I think you'll just have to click on the left there. Yeah.
Okay, so there is our couple of horses there. I do farm with horses, and I really enjoy that. Okay, and then we go on here. The only reason I am farming today is because I was lucky enough to purchase a number of buildings in Toronto, which when sold allowed me to purchase a farm. I am 73 years old, and 3 years ago was diagnosed with leukemia, but have recovered due to a stem cell transplant done in 2018. So this is Dorothy. We heat with wood, and she makes all kinds of bread. I don't think I missed anything. The next one. Lifestyle. We are very busy people with a garden, chickens, a cow, and 4 horses. Our organic farm business is cold pressing, flax, sunflower, hemp, and camelina oils, along with milled spelt and rye flour for 1 week each month. We farm with horses and tractors and have all the machinery necessary for the horses and tractors, including combines, swather, seed drills, and planters for our crops of sunflowers, rye, and spelt. Also seed cleaners and a dehuller. We rotate the crops, the cover crops, and the pastures to benefit the soil biology. I started with degraded soils in 2015 from conventional farming by the previous owner. We have carefully built our soils over the years with cover crops and multi-species pastures for the horses. Now here's a little picture of our mill and a sifter in the back. It's actually a totally automated system, and basically I just It's got an auger that takes it over to the sifter. I didn't show that in here, but I can sit in the office and do all kinds of mill work there. Okay. Those who want to farm our way need to realize there are no holidays when you have animals. Old farm machinery that needs maintenance and many hours of planning the pastures, crops and seeds and soil amendments. But for us, it is a wonderful lifestyle. We have recently put in a new pole barn for machinery and a new machine shop with a large apartment on the second floor, which is unused. We have 2 large barns, a machine shop, a woodworking shop, a welding shop, and all used in the building and maintenance of our machinery, so of welding and all that kind of stuff. Our farm is about 50 acres, 30 acres of pastures and crops, with the rest of the woodlot that we log with the horses. There is a good source of water. We have no debts or mortgage, but you are a slave to the weather. So here I am doing some plowing with a couple of horses here. We don't do a lot of plowing. Since Dorothy and I are retired, we have a pension which we use towards enjoying our farm lifestyle. Our sales income is about $3,500 monthly from our flour, oil sales, along with a few egg sales. In 2021, we should see a small profit if I do not spend everything we have on more machinery or horses, which I'm likely to do. We are hoping to find a person or a couple to rent land to grow their own vegetables and work with us about 20 hours a week. We have a stable customer base that could also be used to sell vegetables. Previous farm experience and references are necessary. Working with horses is an easy transition and can lead to a wonderful relationship with them. So here we have a bunch of pictures of things. This is our north barn. It's quite large. We have a lot of machinery in there and different things. The unpainted sunflower storage is in there, and then one beside it is just for spelt storage. And then this is our pole barn we put in. When I was in hospital, I designed and built this. This is one of our combines, and there's all kinds of machinery there. I really like solar, so we have a lot of solar cells. What you're looking at here is a golf cart that is a solar powered, and we never have to plug it in. It's absolutely fantastic. Here's our house, and when I was in hospital, I designed the extension on it on the far end there, which is a machine shop, and then a wonderful apartment, a huge apartment, which is unused. On the roof, you will see some evacuated tube systems, and the cars in front of you run off sunflower oil. So it's kind of a fun thing here. This is our greenhouse and garden area. This I built for Dorothy last year as a Christmas present, and I actually got it in pretty good time. Now here's the workings of the oil press. We actually run 3 large presses, and we usually press for 1 day, which provides all our customers with enough oil, and then we have it delivered with our sunflower-powered diesels. And the machines in front of you are also powered off sunflower oil, which is kind of fun. And you can see me here just doing a bit of flower work. I test to see how it's coming out. And if you look way in the background here, you can see a little bit of an auger. So it comes from the milling machine over to the sifter. And then we have the south barn. It needs a little work, but basically the roof is good. And this is a lot for our horse. And then you can see here some of the horse equipment here. It's kind of fun. And here we have some more extensive machinery. This is a filter press for doing oil. And if you look at on the right-hand side here, you see a centrifuge. And then you see the the thing that I enjoy doing most. I really, really like those horses. You get a relationship with those, and you get to know them really well, and it's kind of fun. So that's it, Eric.
Thank you so much, Matt. That's very beautiful. You've got so much infrastructure there and brand new housing, which I know is something that many of our folks, our young farmers and new farmers, have asked about. So now we have about 10 minutes for questions, everyone. So if you have a question either for our 5 land opportunity speakers or for someone else who's given a report about the project so far, please raise your blue hand or unmute yourself, or feel free to type it into the chat. All right, Hillary Moore, please go ahead.
Sure. Thanks everyone. Oh, yeah, there I am. Very inspiring. I want to go work for Matt. I have a question for Jeremy about the organization of your co-op. I'm just wondering if you're a legal co-op or how you garner commitment from your co-op members. Is it a financial investment, or is it, a friendly handshake, a legal binding?
Hey, thanks for the question, Hillary. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Yeah. So we are a totally illegal co-op. No, just kidding. We're incorporated as a worker cooperative in Ontario, and so garnering, well, commitment. So there's a couple things. First off, all members need to purchase a $2,000 membership share. Most members have also invested in further funds into the business by purchasing preference shares, but it's not necessarily needed that it's all equal between each member. That's one of the important parts of the cooperative business model, is that the decision making between all members can be shared equally, even if the financial investment isn't. And other than that, basically, in a worker cooperative, a member has to want to work in the business. Like the co-op exists to serve its members, and a worker co-op exists to provide, work, basically. We sign contracts yearly as employees with our own business if we're working. So, each of us might have a different amount of time available to work with a business, but we will sign an employment contract, which is separate from the membership agreement. Hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Jeremy. In the chat, we have a question from Mary who asks, what are the biggest barriers to finding farmers? Whole Village will probably have some insights. Or should we focus on finding people who want to practice? It's such a big commitment for young people or new farmers. Brenda, would you like to take a crack at that first on what are the barriers to finding farmers?
Sure, I will. Obviously, it's difficult to find, in our case, people that would like to work with an established cooperative, which is also an intentional community. I can imagine how intimidated I would be if I came here and had to possibly or think about answering to a group of people, which isn't totally the case. We have a liaison between the co-op and the farmer. We collaboratively work out a lease. We try to involve the farmers in our co-op in terms of coming to meetings and sharing resources, socializing and that sort of thing, but we don't demand that the young farmers would buy into the co-op. My personal interest would be that if somebody came and really enjoyed working here and developing their project, eventually it could be that they would buy into the co-op and be equal members. This is a very expensive land base here, and so it's not easy to buy in, but it's pretty easy to come here with almost nothing in your pocket and start a CSA, because it's the CSA members that get you started, and that's what's been the case to date. So yeah, I hope I've answered some of that.
Thank you very much, Brenda. Are there other panelists who would like to respond to that question? What are the barriers for you to finding farmers, or what have the barriers been so far? Thank you very much, Brenda. Are there other panelists who would like to respond to that question? What are the barriers for you to finding farmers? Or
Join the meeting.
Eric, can you hear me?
I can. Go ahead, Matt.
This is Matt here. And I get a lot of people that want to come by and ride the horses or go for a walk. So a lot of our customers will come here and just actually take the horses for a walk or go for a ride. And that sort of gets them involved in what we're doing. And this is kind of nice because it's a value added. So we grow the crops and then we turn it into oil or flour. And we have basically no expenses, which is kind of odd. And the horses are just fantastic to work with. It's a real relationship. I really think people can do that. So I start people just walking the horse, and you get to know their name, and it becomes a wonderful relationship. And just coming out to various farms is very important. Is that okay?
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you, Matt. Other questions, especially from some people who have come here because you've been to another one of the farmland linking or land access workshops. I'd love to hear from you.
I had a question for, I guess, Brenda, but anybody else really. We're early days for thinking about farm transition on our farm, but we don't have kids, and so housing, if you're talking about a potential transfer for someone who isn't a family member becomes an issue, and we're within the Ottawa city limits, and there's restrictions on building permits and such. So what do you do? How did you get around that in terms of multiple dwellings on one property, or do you have any thoughts in that area?
Thank you.
This is Matt here, and you can actually build onto your house. There's no real issues with that. You just, that's what I did here. I built a large workshop, and then on top of that, I put an apartment, and no problems with any municipality or anything.
Thank you, Matt. Brenda or other panelists?
Sure, I'll take a stab. When we bought this farm, we actually bought it knowing that there were 2 lots, which means we could have 2 houses. There was already the old Victorian farmhouse here, so we knew we could build another.
Oh, I think you're muted, Brenda. If you could try to unmute yourself there. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, sorry. When we bought the property, we knew there were 2 lots, and that gave us the opportunity to build on the one lot, the west lot, that didn't have a house on it. So, but as you may know, in this part of Ontario, the zoning bylaws are pretty tough, especially in Caledon. So to make it a long story short, we spent years working on trying to get a building permit. And it wasn't just that we couldn't build. We couldn't build this strange house with 11 suites in it. One was a designated apartment, the others were regular ones. But we did get a provincial court judge to agree that in fact our large house with a roof over 11 families was in fact a single family dwelling. So I just want to point out that if anybody wanted to build a house like that, they could use that case and its resolution as an example. And it's in a tough area where people don't give you a lot of scope. So, but what we can do too, the old farmhouse could be changed such that we decommission the kitchen, call it a worker's house, and that would be for interns and volunteers, and then they would eat possibly with us down here. And then we could build another large house like this on the east lot. So there's still options here, but you have to be pretty creative and have a bit of money in your pocket and work with the local planners and building people. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Brenda. We are out of time, I'm afraid. Ashley has noted in the chat that we do have a What You Need to Know About Secondary Housing fact sheet. you can email Ashley, ASHLEE, NFU-Ontario.ca to get a copy of that. I'm so grateful for all of our speakers, our panelists today. The opportunities that you have are very exciting. I hope that we're able to make some good connections for you. For everyone else, I encourage you to find some of the other resources we have at the link that I'm pasting into the chat. This is a workshop series that we are hoping to continue in the future. So please get in touch with me, Eric, at NFU-O, NFU-Ontario.ca, and share your ideas for what you would like to see happening in the future and the kinds of things that you need. I'm going to pass it back to Stephanie and our chairs. Thank you so much, everyone.